I'm Max Becker, Regional Sales Manager for American Lighting Seasonal Division. I'm here today to talk about the final phase of holiday lighting installation, which is labeling and storage, preparing for the following season. Now, in my experience, this is one of the most important parts of the install. Is having a proper, concise labeling system can turn what was initially an 8-hour install into an 1.5-hour reinstall the following year. So, whatever system you choose to use, make sure that it's clear, concise, and effective for you personally. Today, I will show you my labeling system, but before we get into that, we'll want to go over the equipment necessary for takedowns. You'll want a pair of snips or a knife or something to cut off the tape from last year. You'll need a Sharpie to write your labels. You'll need colored duct tape and clear tape for labeling your bag at the end, and then masking tape for labeling your strands as you go along. You'll also want a heavy-duty contractor bag and some rope to lower it down at the end of your takedown. My system is built around cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west, and counterclockwise versus clockwise to indicate direction. So if you saw our last video, you know that I mentioned I always like to start our roof lines starting in a corner, and the biggest reason for that is labeling. So because we've started right here in this corner, I can put on my label, start southwest corner clockwise, meaning we're going to start our run at the southwest corner and continue in a clockwise direction around the building. I always like to leave our power cord and timer attached to our first strand. This serves as another double check to make sure you're starting in the right space, because your power cord should be just long enough to reach the outlet that you're plugging into. As a third check to make sure you're starting in the right position, I like to take a Sharpie and just write the word start right here on the parapet with a little arrow pointing in the direction you'd like to go. As you're moving along, after you've gotten your initial label completed, you'll want to wrap up the strand as you go. And I like to use these extension points, what I would call jumpers, as breaks in the strands. So after we've wrapped up strand 1 and reached this first jumper, I'll unplug it and we'll get it out of our way. That one's done. Now we have strand 2 begins with this jumper. This works again as a double check to make sure that you are continuing along in the same fashion as you did on the previous year's install, because just like the power cord, this extension will be just long enough to move from strand 1 to strand 2. So you'll start here, continuing along the roof line, wrapping as you go and labeling each strand numerically until you run out of light. And then you know that you have reached, ideally, the exact same ending point as the install from the previous year. So as you're moving along the roof line, you're going to want to wrap up the wire as you go, which will save you some time on the back end. And this is the method that's always worked best for me. So you'll start with one bulb on the inside of your hand and the rest of the strand on the outside. And then you can do just a little overhand loop on one side and what I would call a underhand loop going the other direction, so that you've got some bunny ears going on here. And then kind of just keep going one direction and then the other until you run out of lights. And then you'll wrap your masking tape around this central piece here and put your numerical label on there. Finally, I like to use different colors of duct tape to indicate the different installation sites. This makes storage a bit easier at the end of the season. So once you pick your color, you'll want to wrap tightly around the neck of your bag and then leave yourself a good amount of extra tape to use as a label. Then you'll take your Sharpie, write the project site and the number of bags you have for that installation. In this example, we just have the one. Finally, take your clear packing tape and cover that label as evenly as possible to prevent the marker from rubbing off during transport. After that, you're ready to put this bag into storage and move on to the next site. This concludes our roofline lighting tutorial. If you have any questions about installation techniques or any of our products, give us a call at American Lighting.